Dame i gospodo, drago mi vas je pozdraviti večeras ovdje, zadnji program drugog dana Festivala svjetske književnosti. Večeras je s nama gost, jedan od najprodavanijih, najboljih suvremenih švedskih autora, autor čitavog niza romana, autor koji je pisao Zlatanu Ibrahimoviću, Ja sam Zlatan, Alanu Turingu, koji se usudio nastaviti tamo gdje je stao Stieg Larsson, autor David Lagercrantz. Jedan veliki pljesak za Davida Lagercrantza. U Švedskoj, na promociji romana koji je zašao 22.8. Djevojka koja je morala umrijeti, zatim u Sjedinjenim državama, Španjolskoj, sada u Hrvatskoj, već sutra je u Parizu. Sa Davidom Lagercrantzom razgovarat će Domagoj Novokmet. Jedan pjesak iz Domagoja. David Lagercrantz će ove knjige potpisivati nakon razgovora u festivalskoj književnosti. Hvala vam lijepa. David Lagercrantz, Domagoj Novokmet, u kabini se prevodi simultano sa engleskoga Hrva Hefer, kanal 1 hrvatski, kanal 2 engleski. Hvala vam.
Dobro večer svima, još jedno moje ime, drago mi je da mogu biti ovdje i pričati o fascinantnom zapravo projektu koji je došao do kraja drugog dijela, ali to je još uvijek sve samo ne kraj. Čućete večeras i zanimljive zaplete koji se odvijaju i u samom izdavačkom biznisu, a prate ovaj serijal Millennium od samoga početka. Svima vama koji imate dodira i sa novinarstvom bit će interesantno čuti i iz perspektive našeg večerašnjeg gosta kako to izgleda u praksi u Švedskoj, koliko ono što ste mogli pročitati u knjigama slično onome što se zapravo događa, možda i neki komentar koji može biti interesantan i za sve vas vezano za trendove koji se događaju. Mi ćemo inače razgovarati na engleskom jeziku, ako će nekome trebati može se poslužiti uređajima za simultano prevođenje, ali ja se nadam da vam neće trebati. Good evening once again and thank you for coming to Zagreb. Busy schedule.
Yes, I was just now hearing what you said. That was fantastic. Thank you. Yes, a busy schedule. So I'm a bit jet lagged. I've done United States, 9 cities in 9 days, and then I went to Barcelona and Madrid. And now I'm here. I'm happy.
And 2 months on the road, actually.
Oh, yes.
Promoting this book. How did you finish in this story of Millennium? How you ended as author of those 3 books?
How I ended? Shall I tell you all the ending? No. Maybe it will be too exciting. Maybe I will tell you who the murderer is. It's actually no. What was the question? How I ended?
Here. What was your reason to continue Stieg Larsson's job, and what do you think? What was the reasons of the publishers to choose you?
Well, it's a bit of a long story, but I should tell it shortly. I wrote a book about Zlatan Ibrahimovic. You know who is? Yes. She actually had a Croatian mother. And that book was a huge success. It was actually the fastest selling book ever in Sweden. And one of the reasons was that kids that had never been near a library, a bookstore, actually, bought it, started to read. And then I met my agent. And something happened to me when I went into this tough guy. I'm a bit from the privileged classes, and he's sort of from the ghetto. And I sort of went into the Zlatan character, and something happened to me. I think I became a better writer, writing Zlatan's book. So I told my agent, maybe I'm a bit of an actor-writer. Maybe I'm best when I go into characters that are not like myself. And I saw my agent's eyes go, and suddenly I got a call from Norstedts. And you must know that Norstedts is the competitive publishing house from Bonniers, which I belong to. So they called me and they said, David, we want to speak to you. But we have this little odd thing. We don't want you to come into the main entrance. So you don't want me to
Good start.
I mean, that's a strange start. I mean, I'm an embarrassing person to you. So instead, they took me into the cellar. And there, with a room without any windows, my publisher, Eva Jedin, leaned over, a bit solemn, you know, and she said, David, would you consider writing the 4th book in the Stieg Larsson's Millennium series? And you know what I answered? You know how long I hesitated?
How long?
Microsecond. I sort of went, yes!
You didn't fear of, you know, all what's going on when you follow somebody who's passed away but who made huge success and so on?
I mean, honestly, later I was scared to death. I was absolutely
But
scared
not to that moment.
But in that moment, I'm like you. I mean, I'm a journalist. And I sort of had a sense of a scoop. Wow, what a story.
Yeah.
Could I write it? I felt fever. And then I went home, started writing, started to reading, and then after a while, yes, I was scared to death. I was scared of the critics, of course, you know, pushing me in the back. I was scared of the readers. I was even scared of Lisbeth Salander, that she would come after me and tell me, David, you're not doing me justice, I'm cooler than this. So I was scared to death. But being scared is a quite good driving force, isn't it?
Yes.
You know that as a journalist.
Absolutely, one of the very good forces to push you forward. Were there any rules about writing?
No, not really. I mean, we all had the same goal. We should be trustful to the universe. I mean, Lisbeth Salander should be Lisbeth Salander. We couldn't give her 3 kids and be 45 and live in the suburbs. I mean, that wouldn't be Lisbeth Salander. So we should be trustful to the universe. But I should also try to add something on my own. I shouldn't try to copy him, because I couldn't.
But how difficult then it was comparing to other books you wrote before, to novels you wrote before, knowing that you will write 3 books, right? And
yes.
Knowing that, you know, you have to schedule a lot of things and so on. Was it different than things you did before?
The strange...
More maybe investigation, more learning constantly. You are talking about many hot topics today.
Yes, you can say I had to do 2 kinds of research. I had to do real research. I have to learn about hacking, for example.
Yeah.
I have to learn about the things that I wanted to write, but I also had to do fictional research. I had to understand the characters. I was reading and rereading the book, and then I was doing research. So it was tricky. But what I found out was that it wasn't so strange that people think, because every kind of writing has its rules. I mean, even if you find out the character yourself, you have to be trustful to them. Or you have to be trustful to the genre. For me, I just read and read until I had them sort of in my veins. And then I just started to write.
Ever thought of giving up?
Not really, but I had my, dark moment. I sensed the feel of a catastrophe. Everyone was coming after me. No, of course. In December that year, when I was starting, we went public, and Swedish media went crazy. I mean, really crazy.
Crazy like supporting crazy?
Crazy like not supporting crazy.
I had a chance.
I mean, there was war in Syria, there was crisis all over, but I was on the headline. I was the bad guy. And being vulnerable and neurotic as and being on the bad lives, how could he? I think someone called me the grave digger or something. That was tough, that was really tough. And I sat there trying to write, feeling the pressure and really felt the hunger for blood. People wanted me to succeed. This posh guy who just got this on a silver,
I thought maybe of leaving that question for the end, but I think it suits now here. You finished those 3 books. Is it now over for you with Lisbeth Salander?
Yes, now it's over. Now it's been a fantastic journey, and I think actually I've survived. I've survived it. I'm here. I've survived. So
unusual word for a writer. After books, you survive.
No, I think I survived. No, but I mean, and Sweden went even crazier when the book was published, or before it was published. So I was all over the news, and the first review sort of said this was the worst book ever written, sort of. And I was there, you know, shivering, felt, but then something happened. The wind shifted. I remember I was in Paris, and I lay there, and they were coming in great reviews from the New York Times, The Guardian, Le Monde, Der Spiegel, and I was getting emails from readers. Oh God, we missed Lisbeth, she's back. And then I understood, well, I survived it. And then it's starting to get more and more fun, and I dare to do more with the books after that.
Before going into the books deeper, there is almost a thriller considering the publishing rights going on right now in Sweden, you told me.
Yes.
Can you explain the audience what's going on?
Yeah. Well, now you're taking the topic ahead, but I've said on television that I will not write any more books. I mean, they tried to persuade me. And then I think the owner of the rights were disappointed. Or they wanted, you know, so they took the rights from Nordstedt, who actually created the Millennium books. So Stieg Larsson's publisher, who was my publisher, and the Nordstedt have lost the rights now. So it's still a drama. So still a drama. And now a rich Norwegian guy has the rights. So now they're seeking a new writer. So this was my grand finale, and it is the grand finale for Lisbeth Salander, but I think in one way or another we will see her again.
There will be more books about her, but
I think there will be everything. I think she's one of those icon figures, don't you think? That way, I mean, she sort of belongs to eternity. I mean, every century there is a couple. I mean, if we go back to the 19th century, we had Sherlock Holmes, and we had some superheroes that we're picking up. And Lisbeth Salander's stories, she will live on. Even without me, sadly.
But who knows who will write her new story?
No, I don't know anything about that. We will see.
Is there some similarity between what was happening to the newspaper's Millennium in your first book with this hostile overtaking, and what is happening now with project of Millennium in real life?
Well, you can say, I mean, the Millennium drama has always, it's a good story in itself. You know, the first they said to me when I started to write that I couldn't write it on a connected computer. I should write it on a non-connected computer because they were afraid of Lisbeth Salander characters. And I just thought they were paranoid. Come on, I mean, who will hack me? Okay, I did what they said. It's hopeless to write on a non-connected computer, I must say, because they had to upgrade itself all the time. So, yeah, it was. But now I heard they actually tried to hack me. And they actually tried to get the book. You know how they did? They sent emails. You know, we have a lot of translators. And we had a lot of agents. And then they took this sort of technique, so it looks just like the translator. And it also looks like the language of the translator. Hello, I'm this and that. We are in a tight schedule, could you have the script a little earlier? But it wasn't from the translator. So it's sort of a drama in itself, was it?
Will it finish in a book once also? Written by you, maybe?
No, not written by me, by you, maybe.
Then we have to talk a little bit more about it. But how did you choose particular topics in your books? For example, you wrote a lot about fear of dystopian scenario, of artificial intelligence taking control, secret services fighting around it. Why did you pick up that? For example?
Well, first of all, I think it's part of the tradition of Nordic noir and Stieg Larsson to deal with contemporary issues. But secondly, I was fascinating about herself. Have you heard about the technological singularity? Do you know what that is? Yeah, some of you do. And that is the moment when the computer gets smarter than we are. And what happens if a computer gets smarter than we are? If we are capable of creating something that is smarter than we are, then this computer are capable of creating something that's smarter. And then maybe in, you know, just a millisecond or a month, we suddenly have something that is 1 million smarter than we are. We will be like white mice for the computers. And that, when I first heard it, I thought, this is lunatic, this is a bad sci-fi, you know, dystopian. And then I actually understood people were working and worrying about it. And some were optimistic and think that, you know, we will connect ourselves to the AI and we will live forever, you know, and we will be sort of half human, half machines. But others, and more, are really worried that we will live in a world where computers will take over. And some people say, I mean, look at the word, I mean, look at the two-word war. I mean, look what's happening now and all over the world with the populist right-wing lunatics. I mean, maybe a computer will do better. I don't know. I mean, look at the climate crisis.
Yes.
So, I mean, they can do the job and we can have fun. What about that?
Yes, but one scientist told me that we won't know about artificial intelligence until it will be ready.
Yes.
And it will be ready at the moment when it will be sure that we cannot switch power off.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So there's not much optimistic moments in that.
No. We don't know really what the artificial computer, what they want. I mean, we know what we want. We want money and we want maybe, you know, live a luxurious life. We want sex or whatever we want. But what do computers want? We don't know. So it will be exciting.
Yeah.
I see you in 30 years. We have the topic.
I hope that you will see in 30 years. It's a good scenario. Yeah. But you wrote not only about artificial intelligence and crime around it, you also wrote in first book, which is translated in Croatian as Što nas ne ubije, what doesn't kill us. You wrote also about journalism today. It was maybe for me, I admit, the most interesting part of the book. Talking about new enemies, I would put it that way, of free journalism, and it is secret lobbies, groups from big financial industry and so on, the groups that actually want to shut down independent journalism.
I think we live in a time that free speech are under serious threat. I think the situation never had been serious during my lifetime. So we had, I mean, dictatorship, authoritarianism that wanted to silence journalists, but we also have organized disinformation, organized fake news that wanted to polarize us. We know that disinformation and hacking as well, and conspiracy theories actually influenced the American election. So it is dangerous, and it's really dangerous. When you combine it all, we see leaders who want to shut down the media. We see interests who wanted to spread lies and hatreds and polarize us. And that's not a danger just for, you know, the free speech or for the justice. It's a danger for us. Because when you start demonizing, then you are close to violence. So I think it's really dangerous. Lies. We are, you know, they are throwing lies at us, and it's dangerous. And now, because of the internet, we can live in different worlds. If we go back and say, we all watch, I mean, we all watch you on TV. We want the truth. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Now we all have each other has own bubble.
We have bubbles, and we polarize ourselves, and we group demonize themselves. It's dangerous, I think. And we have leaders that use this.
Are you optimistic about that?
I have my daughter here, Signe. She's the young generation, and I'm hoping for the young generation. I was too young, 1968, you know, when we were fighting. I was too young, I was just 6 years old. But I'm hoping that the young generation now has their 1968. Because the world is so crazy. The world is so crazy. I mean, we have this orange guy in the United States. We have this new sort of look-alike in UK. We have...
What, orange?
Yeah, we have strange things going on, you know, in Eastern Europe. I think it's so crazy, so I hope the young generation will wake up and protest. So I always think that history is dialectic. But it will be a reaction. It can't go. I mean, it can't just go downwards. I refuse to see that.
But speaking of younger generation, I can answer. My children are much younger than your daughter.
Yes.
But speaking as a father, I feel that kids are, you know, lost in ocean of those bubbles in social media and so on. So it is the key question maybe is will they be able to recognize the truth?
Yes, I hope so. I hope. I mean, if you go back to history, I think mankind is getting wiser and wiser. It doesn't go just upward, it go like this. And now we have a backlash. So I'm hoping, I'm always hoping I mean, we know now that the older generation voted for Trump and voted for Brexit. So that's what I hope for. Yes. So,
it should be better.
Yeah, and we should educate and talk to our kids all the time. Be critical.
Yeah.
Be critical to what you hear. Think again, is this really the truth, or is this the truth that you want to believe? And that, I think, is a crucial thing, confirmation bias. Have you heard that expression? That we seek the information that confirm our opinions all the time. And you should be aware of that. Even we that sort of consider ourselves as intellectual do that ourselves. We should always try to be.
But the problem is that you have to have a lot of power in yourself to seek the truth that actually doesn't suit you.
No, it is, but it's important. And we have to, and we're sitting here and seek it and yeah.
Going back to the books,
yes.
you all the time goes near or touching the case of fake news, of internet trolls and the projects they do. You wrote about politicians which were targets of those fake news. You wrote about troll armies in Russia and so on.
Yes, yes.
How deep you went into investigation of that? Have you met anybody of them from that mafia?
Yes, I actually met, and I try all the time to do my research. So, I mean, for the heart of the book is the hacking. I mean, now we know, if we go back, the worst hacking attack. If we go back to Stieg Larsson's day, hackers were, kids in a cellar. Now the worst hacking attack is done by states. They hack us and they spread this information. So I try to learn. I think even if you want to write fiction, you write it better if you know what's going on. So I do that all the time. I seek people to know. And I learn, maybe I can educate you a bit about hackers. There are 3 types of hackers, It's the black hats. You know who those are? They're the really bad guys who put virus and trojans in our computers, steal our money, blackmail us. Then there are the gray hats. They do illegal things, but they could do illegal things for good causes, like Lisbeth Salander. And then we have white hats. And there are hackers who are hired. Company hires them to hack them.
To check.
Hack us and tell us where the vulnerability is. So when I started doing this book, I was asking around, who is the best white hat in Sweden? And that was a guy called David Lagercrantz. So now David is my secret Lisbeth Salander. So whenever Lisbeth wants to hack anything, I call David. I had this crazy idea, I had it in the first book, that Lisbeth Salander will hack NSA. So I said, David, she will hack NSA. And he said, that's tricky, but we will try.
Didn't say impossible, just tricky.
Yeah.
Okay. And do you have that kind of advisors in other fields also?
Yes, I always try to. In this book, I was very interested in DNA. And without any spoilers, I'm writing about Everest. And have you heard of the people Sherpas, who live high up in the Himalaya, who help climbers? And I heard that they have a special gene that allowed them to live on high altitude. And do you know why they have this gene? Because we go back 40,000 years ago, there were just not us, Homo sapiens. There were Neanderthals, and there were also Denisova, another species of humankind. And back then, people were liberal, I must say. You know? So we were having sex with the Neanderthals sometimes, and with the Denisova. So some ancestors from the Denisova inherit, because the Denisova live in high altitude, this super gene. And the Sherpas have it. And when I learned it, I said, oh God, I must try to use it in this story. And I did, and you will find out if you read.
And this book is, it is not your first touch with Everest.
No, it's not. No, it's an old.
Now, again, throwing you out of the story of Millennium, actually.
Yes. No. I've always been. I mean, I'm interested. Why do we do crazy things? I mean, why are we interested in to climb Everest? I mean, people are dying there. I mean, it's crazy. And and as people are laying there, there's an expression that I learned. It's a rainbow valley. And the Rainbow Valley is the valley over 18,000 meters, also called the death zone, where people, corpses who have died, and they're still frozen in time, and they all have this clothes in different colors. And I did my first book about the climber who went up after the catastrophe in 1996. She went up through them and passed all these corpses. And it's fascinating. Why do people do it?
300 of them. Right?
Yeah, 300 of people, yes.
Frozen there, waiting for somebody to take them down.
Yes. And Everest is so interesting because geographically it's a journey upward, of course. But in soulness, it's a journey downwards. Because your thoughts get slower and more primitive, and you start into the age. So I'm sort of, I hate heights, I hate adventures, but I love to write about it.
You don't climb yourself?
Never. I climbed the stairs. I think it was quite scary.
Maybe that's the personal challenge for the future, for next 30 years?
No. I mean, it's a challenge enough to write. About I was still calm, Sometimes I have a glass too much, and that's a challenge enough.
You picked a lot of hot topics in those 3 books. Some of them are international, some of them, at least I found them like that, are especially interesting for the Swedish society, for example.
Yes.
In the second book you wrote about, I would say, existential problems of Islamic immigrants.
Yes, I did.
In Sweden, especially women squeezed between Swedish state not maybe truly supporting and the traditional radical pressure from home. It is also something, something what is all around,
yes, it is.
Especially Western Europe, but people somehow are not comfortable to speak about it.
No, it is complicated, and it's complicated because, I wanted to be, and I am, tolerant people. I want a multicultural society. I think Sweden has grown stronger when we are, people from all over, different religions. But how long should a tolerant person tolerate intolerance? And that's the key question. And here we have something, an honor-related violence. Girls that are punished and even killed. It's not only in Muslim culture, it's also in Christian culture, because they've fallen in love with someone they are not supposed to fall in love with. And we have had such stories in Sweden. Girls who actually, the only crime they did was to fall in love. and they were killed. And that's sort of, and that's a very sensitive topic, of course, but it was something that really, you know, I wanted to write about.
I read, actually, one friend of mine who is Danish told me about many different Danish programs they're doing to help Muslim women in Denmark to get liberated, put it that way. For example, they are forcing them to take free bike courses. They want them to learn to drive a bike, so they can easily, even without money, go into the society, into the town, you know, jump over the obstacles made by the family. How much Swedish society, for example, Swedish state does about that questions?
I think we are ahead in feminists, but it's so much to do still. And I think this book's, having daughters, is educating me in the art of feminism, you know. And I think it's the most important question, not just for equality. It's important to have a civilized state. Who are killing our society? It's not women, it's narcissistic men, aren't they? So I think what we really need, and what I say as a man, we need in every sense girl power. I mean, if we would have more female leaders, I'm absolutely convinced we would have more civilized world.
I think if you would go around Zagreb and ask people, I think that Sweden would be recognized as one of the leading states speaking about female rights, human rights in general, and so on. But you in your book also show that you're not satisfied with the level you achieved as a society.
No, of course not. Of course not. I mean, we have problems. We have problems. But sometimes I'm on now the defense. You know why? Because we're talking about fake news and disinformation. And people are demonizing Sweden to attack liberal democracy. So sometimes when I speak to journalists from certain part of Eastern Europe and other places, they have this picture of Sweden as sort of in a war situation, with bombs exploding and cars burning, and they are victims of disinformation and demonizing, just as certain interests are demonizing Soros, for example, they are demonizing Sweden. So of course we have problem. We have maybe more and more problem. But we have here the Swedish ambassador, and I sometimes feel like a Swedish ambassador to defend Sweden, because there's so much disinformation of Sweden.
You mentioned at least 3 or 4 times already this evening word demonizing.
Yes.
And you wrote about in this last book about particular case of demonizing one politician.
Yes.
Do you see efficient method of fighting against demonizers when they attack you, your state, your society, your community?
I mean, when
they attack through fake news, they attack through troll farms and so on.
I mean, sometimes it's a situation when everybody thinks the same. This is a monstrous guy, or whatever. Then I think you're obliged at least to try the different thought. Could it be different? Or could it be more complex than that? I think that's very important, but I'm talking about demonization because everything really horrible started. I mean, if we're going back to the 30s, and many people saying there are similarities now with the 30s, I mean, the Holocaust didn't start with violence, it started with words. It started with demonizing the Jews, and when you have demonized them, they were easier to kill because they were not human anymore in the eyes. I mean, we had so words are dangerous, and we see in the States, you know, the demonizing of the Latin Americans and so on, that actually leads to violence. So it's dangerous to do it.
You also write about connection between states, secret services, and organized crime, and all of them somehow are interested into misusing social media, into using fake news and so on. Any exploring about that in real life also?
I mean, we see it all the time. We know it. I mean, it's a tool. It's a tool. We had this great thing about social media after the Arab Spring that it will connect us, deliberate us. But now we know that states and organized crime and dictatorship, they use social media to polarize us. We see that all day. And Facebook and Google, they all have a great problem with it, and I don't think they're fighting it enough.
Do you think that they are really interested into fighting with that?
I think for their survival, they had to. I mean, Facebook's reputation are already not as good as it was. It's already bad, so they had to do it. I mean, we all have to fight for the truth. Because we are drowned in lies. Our society would be killed. So that's our bloody truth. And I'm solemn about your profession. I'm not only trying to flatter you, but your profession is more important now than ever. Because there's so much lies floating over us. So we need good investigating journalism to dig in to see what really is true.
This is also your profession.
Yes.
Basically.
Yes. So even though I write in fiction, yeah.
Going back to you, do you think that there is enough strength in media today among young people to continue that fight? Because you said 15 years ago there was just one newspapers against maybe another newspapers confronting arguments. Do you think that media today did media found the formula to fight against fake news, about demonizing on social media and so on?
I hope so. What I see and what is hopeful is that really good quality journalism is starting to make money. Washington Post, New York Times, in Sweden we have Dagens Nyheter, they're actually quite successful.
But it was the problem for Millennium also, because there was not enough money.
Not enough money in
honest journalism.
Yes, it is. But maybe it will, because I think we are born to seek the truth. I think we are, it's not healthy to live in lies. I mean, in the end, I think the truth will win. So we just keep fighting for it. And it's not easy. The truth is complicated. That we always must know. When we think we have found the truth, maybe we have not. And then we have to go it through. That's what science is all about, isn't it? To seek the truth and then try to be critical about what you thought was the truth. And that's what we should do all the time.
And the problem is with the truth is that usually it is not tasteful very often actually to anybody. People are not very happy when they find out the truth about many things that newspapers are writing about. And we go back to the point where media today, journalism today is fighting with the truth, which is not nice, against these social media bubbles in which people enjoy.
Yeah, but sometimes I'm not sure I agree with you, but sometimes I say, if it bleeds, it's news, is an old expression. So bad news is news. But what media need is what we call constructive journalism. That actually positive news are also news. I mean, crimes go down and we get less. Yes?
We are seeking truth. You are a new messiah. Why don't you give these books for free to spread the revolution, and at least to the women, because you love them so much, so give these books for free.
I should give these books for free?
Yeah, especially to women.
Yeah, yes.
Because,
yes, ask my publisher about that. Yes.
Okay, we will ask publisher about that.
Yes, yes.
Back to the question.
Yes.
Back to the question.
Yes, back to the question. That was an interesting question. I mean, yes. Okay, yes.
Considering you said that positive news can also be good news.
Yes.
But we are faced with a situation in which politicians, the people who are connected with the government or big companies, they're selling their PR as a good news that should...
Oh, yeah, that's another problem. Then when you are sort of having news, it's really PR and you cover it in news, yes. But I mean, it's so much positive also happening in the world, and we should tell that also. Because otherwise people will get a negative picture of the world and act like it. There's many positive things happening, yes.
Another moment in your books, and it is also somehow the continuing of the idea which was started by Stieg Larsson, is the moment of sacrificing individual in the name of super society, speaking about experimenting with the kids, with the children, orphans maybe, and so on.
Maybe you speak about what I wrote in my second book.
Second book, yes.
But I was so fascinating about twins, and it's you know, there is in Sweden there is research of twins. In the 30s in Sweden we're quite poor, so there were 500 identical twins who were separated. And actually met two twins. One were brought up in a quite an educated family, and another one was sort of a worker in a farm. And because of them we can study what is genes and what is culture. And I'm so fascinating. I mean, I think we all wonder that. I mean, what would we be if we were born in another family? And when I was thinking about that question, I actually heard about a professor in the States who did that deliberately. They separated twins to see what's happening. And there's also stories when twins were mixed up at a hospital, and that's fascinating me so much. I mean, I'm thinking of that. What would I have been if I'd been brought up in an absolutely different family? It's mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing. And now we know that genetics are more important than we believed back in the 70s. So, I mean, that's a strange thing. Twins born up in absolutely different surroundings, their personality are still quite alike. Quite alike? Yes. Quite connected? Yes, yes. So you can't, I mean, always blame your parents. You have to blame your genes. Grandparents, yes, and everybody before. Yes, yes. Till those people on Everest. Yes. But I wondered also about this moment, because you go also deep into it. The victim, which is young, which cannot defend for itself, and which is used by the system of the state. We are talking here about scientists from this institute, yes, analyzing them without helping them, being quite cruel. Yes, yes, yes. Again, talking about individual, which is sacrificed in the name of the society. Yeah, that's horrible. I mean, it's going back to Kada, talking about philosophy, when you use people not like ants, like tools for something else. And that, of course, is horrible, and we have done that with ethnic minorities many times. And it's shocking. And I'm sort of proud of the Nordic noir tradition. I mean, after Stieg Larsson, that we're just not trying to entertain, because this is an entertainment genre. I mean, we should have fun, you know. But if we can also learn something about science, and deal with injustice. So I think crime fiction is a great tool to fight injustice, and so that's what we hope. First of all, we want to entertain, but could we, you know, after reading this book, maybe see the world a little bit different? Then I'd be happy. Now, my time to defend Swedish society. Is it also the proof of the strong society if readers are ready to read about topics which are fiction here, but connected with some elements from the history, which are not, you know,
something that you could be proud of, but you're ready to read about it, to discuss about it. You know, it's not easy in many European societies.
Okay. But the strange thing about books, isn't it, that we love to read everything that we hate to experience. I mean, in real life, we just like to sit with a glass of wine and have a good time. But in books, we love to read about murders and catastrophes and injustice, and that's strange. That's sort of the escapism of books. So we hate to, most of us hate to climb Everest, but we love to read about it. Yeah.
And we are afraid of meeting people from mafia, but we are happy to read what happened to Lisbeth when she went, for example, to Russia. How about that? How did you investigate all those things connected to Russia?
Well, I studied it, and I researched it, and then I started to fantasize how to do it.
Did you travel a lot for this?
I traveled a lot, but to be honest, you can always use Google Earth. It's a bit cheating, sorry. But today you can see every street in the world. Don't tell anyone.
So it is easy to explain to the reader how it looks.
No, you must try it. You can see every street now. You just go down in the Google Earth thing. It's fantastic. Yeah, but I've traveled a lot. But I like to be at home. You know, this book tour is killing me. And not being in Zagreb, of course. That's just fun. But otherwise, it's killing me.
Yesterday and from next day. Okay.
Yes. Shall we have any from the audience asking questions, or what should we have?
From the audience?
Or should we? No. Okay.
Just a few questions from me then, and then we will finish.
Okay.
What now?
Now I will seek new challenge. I just written a 3-book contract for a new novel. So now I have 2 new characters. So now I feel panic again. Now I'm scared to death that I will prove that I can write just as good books with my own characters. So now I'm flirting a little bit about Sherlock Holmes. I have one hero from the upper class and one hero from the ghetto, and they will interact. And I think it's a quite good story, and I started writing, and I'm like you, I need new challenges. I couldn't go on with Lisbeth all my life. I love her, and I will always think that she's iconic, but to be honest, she's a little too tough for me sometimes. so now I'm dreaming to write a little bit more vulnerable people.
But if I understood correctly, it will still be something you call the noir?
Yeah, it will still be crime fiction, because I've learned the genre. It will be exciting. I mean, I'm born in this snobbish family where you should write sort of for the elite, but I wanted to be read. So I wanted to write exciting books. I will try to continue in doing that.
What your family, that family you described so beautifully now,
I don't know
what they think about your writing about Elizabeth?
I don't know, my father is dead, so I just wonder what he thinks. I hope he smiles a bit, even though he wasn't certainly in the crime fiction genre. He wrote biographies of Dante and Proust and, James Joyce and August Strindberg, so I don't know if he'd be shocked or glad.
Okay, it will be a question. So, any schedules about new books?
2021. That will be a good year for me, because the same year, hopefully, if I finish the book, we will also have the motion picture of my Zlatan book. So we will start shooting. We are casting now for Zlatan actors. We need one 11-year-old Zlatan and one 17 to 20-year-old Zlatan.
Is it offer for the audience?
Yes, if you know anyone that looks like Zlatan and has this, so just tell me.
You are also involved into movie production?
I've written the script.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, will it be more fiction or more following the book? And
a little bit of both, but it will be quite, I think it will be good.
It will be also something not so typical, talking about football players on the screen.
No, this will be his youth, his fight to success.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming to Zagreb.